Bangladesh elections explained. Future ties with India, China and Pakistan. Hello friends, you are here with me to understand the current situation in Bangladesh. This is because 4 days from now, Bangladesh will get a new Prime Minister. A new Prime Minister after 35 years. You might be surprised, why did it take 35 years? Until now, it was Sheikh Hasina or Hasina-Zia. I said a new Prime Minister. Sheikh Hasina and Hasina-Zia were the only two women. For the last 35 years, these two have ruled by alternating power. After them, a third person will now take charge of Bangladesh, because Sheikh Hasina is in India and Hasina-Zia has passed away. In such a situation, the discussion today is which party is performing well. Secondly, regarding whoever comes to power, we had 35 years of experience with Hasina-Zia and Sheikh Hasina. We all know well that Sheikh Hasina is not in the election. The Awami League is not in the election. But who is standing against the BNP? The Bangladesh Nationalist Party. When there was a two-party system in Bangladesh, the Awami League Sheikh Hasina's party and the BNP Hasina-Zia's party were the two major players. But by driving Sheikh Hasina out, what did the BNP gain? Could they be in trouble themselves? Because this time, who has stood up as the opposition against the BNP? It is Jamaat. Jamaat is extremist, they are Pakistan promoted. Their thought process is that Bangladesh should be merged with Pakistan. They are the ones who give extremist Islamic and hateful statements against Hindus. So on one side is BNP and on the other is Jamaat. It is a choice between two bad options. The fight is over who is more bad. Neither is good for India. It is an election between the less bad and the very bad. Will India be able to protect its interests in its neighborhood? You might ask, are you talking about influencing the election? We say this because during previous elections, an atmosphere was created against Sheikh Hasina, alleging that India helped her win. Can India help make a prime minister in a neighboring country? Can it influence the elections this time? Sheikh Hasina left and came here over 1.5 years ago after the regime change. Since then, Muhammad Yunus has been ruling for 18 months without winning an election. Today we will discuss how two major parties are in the election and what happened to the Students' Party. Those who overthrew Sheikh Hasina, where do they stand? Were they able to form a big party? Are they contesting all seats? Don't wait too long. Know this now. They aren't even contesting 10% of the seats. Those leaders who set out to change the country in the name of student politics and formed the NCP, National Citizen Party, did they achieve anything? The answer is no. They are contesting only 30 seats, meaning in a 300-seat Bangladesh parliament, they have barely a 10% role. Yet they defamed Sheikh Hasina globally, removed her from power, and now the poor Awami League isn't even in the election. Let's understand this calculation regarding India. The strategic importance of Bangladesh. Parliamentary elections will be held on the 12th. After 35 years, the country will get a new prime minister, because from 1991 to 2024, Sheikh Hasina and Hasina-Zia were switching turns. First, it is important to know why this matters. For us, it's a neighbor on the corner of the northeast. But why is it important for the world? Why is China interested? Why is Pakistan interested? Is India the only reason, or is there something bigger? Understand the geography. Bangladesh is in the Bay of Bengal. While India is spread across the Indian Ocean, smaller countries like Bangladesh can be influenced by the policies of superpowers like the US. Bangladesh sits near the critical Strait of Malacca, the gateway connecting the Indian Ocean to the Pacific and the South China Sea. The Strait of Malacca is a narrow passage about 1.5 nautical miles wide in parts. Over $1 trillion worth of goods for China and ASEAN countries pass through here. Between 60,000 to 90,000 ships pass annually. This is the vein that gives the South China Sea access to the Indian Ocean. The Indian Ocean is vital because oil from the Persian Gulf and goods to Africa must pass through here. To reach China, this is the way. This makes the Bay of Bengal extremely important. China and the US are interested in Bangladesh's Sturt Martin Island to monitor the Bay of Bengal. Western powers have always valued islands more than large land masses for global dominance. The UK ruled the world largely because it was an island nation. Even the US strategy involves being isolated by water. Canada to the north, a wall with Mexico, and oceans on both sides. Their thought process is, the more isolated and surrounded by water, the safer you are. It is easier to build naval power than to monitor land borders. This is why they focus on islands like Chagos, Maldives or Mauritius. India has a strategic asset here, Andaman and Nicobar. India is developing the Great Nicobar project. Because India's position in the Bay of Bengal is so strong, the US is trying to bring Bangladesh into its fold. If India's influence in the Indian Ocean increases too much, the US fears losing its grip while trying to remain a world power. Currently, the US dominates the Pacific and Atlantic, but in the Indian Ocean, the third largest, it lacks that same significance despite the heavy trade. This brings us to St. Martin Island. Sheikh Hasina had to step down and flee to India, partly because she refused to give up this island. Since Muhammad Yunus took over, an individual many see as a US-backed representative, foreign policy has turned against India. He claims, you installed Sheikh Hasina, you saved her, and you treated Bangladesh like a slave territory. Therefore, we oppose you. The election landscape, 300 seats. On the 12th, elections for the 350-seat parliament will occur. 300 seats are contested. 50 seats are reserved for women, allocated proportionally based on the 300 contested seats. For example, if a party wins 150 seats, they get 25 reserved seats. Demographics, 91% Muslim, 8% Hindu. Parties that favor Islam get more attention, those talking about minorities aren't given much importance because they don't hold a large vote share. The major players. Previously, it was Awami League versus BNP. Now the Awami League is banned. BNP, Bangladesh Nationalist Party, leading a coalition of 10 parties. Jamaat-e-Islami, previously banned under Hasina, they are now leading a coalition of 11 parties. Interestingly, the students-led NCP, National Citizen Party, formed in 2024, joined the Jamaat coalition in January 2026, so it is now the BNP versus the Jamaat-NCP alliance. The BNP is led by Tariq Rahman, who returned to Bangladesh shortly before his mother passed away. He had been in exile in London for 17 years to avoid legal cases filed by Sheikh Hasina. He returned to a grand welcome, hoping to rule alone, but now faces a tough fight from the Jamaat alliance. The BNP's manifesto includes ensuring the BSF stops killings on the Indian border, fair distribution of river water. Note, the Ganga Water Treaty with India expires in 2026, which is a major issue. A Bangladesh before all policy. They want friendship, not dominance. The other side, the Jamaat-e-Islami, is led by 67-year-old Shafiqur Rahman. Because of their extremist ideology, they were banned for a long time. They even consider the very birth of Bangladesh, separation from Pakistan, to be a mistake.